Welcome, everybody, to Oceanside Library's Poetry Near and Afar. We're delighted to have two wonderful poets here tonight, one joining us all the way from Florida, or New York South, as we would call it, and Angie, who's joining us here from New York. So without any further ado, Angie Hernandez.
Thank you very much. It's my honor being here with you guys. I appreciate all of this, Tony. I'll start with my first poem. Give you some background though. I started writing poetry when I was a teenager in Spanish, and recently I decided to start writing in English. So here is the first one. If I could sing, I would sing to the sky for being the space that illuminates us every day and night, for giving room to all the moons and stars, for giving us air, for the clouds that shelter us from the intense heat of our biggest star. I would sing for the rain that makes everything flourish, fertile, hopeful for rebirth every spring. I would sing to life because it's one, at least the one that we remember, the one that makes us firm and strong, that fills us with love, peace, fleeing pains, friendships, and good people who stay with us throughout this road. I would sing to the family that I was born into, with all their flaws and virtues, emotional lacks and riches, their opportunities, their lack of opportunities, ignorance, because it makes each member an indispensable being in my growth. I would sing to my Lord and Savior who has given me wisdom over the years to keep walking with my head held high, to give myself fully to the well-being of my surroundings, not to allow harm, and at the same time, leave everything on his hands. I would sing for healthy love, true love, values and intentions, so that our world conforms. I would sing for the children that I will bear in my womb and give birth to, and to all the blessings and strength that my Lord will give me to raise them with love, wisdom, and faith. I would simply sing for the daily struggle to leave a legacy while enjoying walking to this road. Boom. Thank you. And the next one, I am not a poet. Life is poetry, so I write. I am just a human being surprised by the joy of living, so I write. I write of shadows from a long walk in the woods and the beauty of the leaves turning colors during the fall from dying trees beneath my feet. So I write. I write of the soothing smell of freshly harvested honey, coconut water reviving me as I drink it straight from the coconut on my beloved island, the island where I learned about survival, where education and ambition became my allies. I write about the memories of my cousins cutting sugar cane in my grandma's backyard, the day they taught me to share, a lesson that grew months later when I shared life with my younger self, a brother who taught me to be a guide, to be strong, a brother who showed me weakness, and who now remains silent because I said no. No to bending, no to pleasing, no to always being there. I am not a poet, yet life is poetry, so I write. I write of childhood memories, the smell of rain on dry soil at my grandma's house in Santiago every summer, the sound of my mother's family cheering me up after each scene of Action with Angie, an imaginary show that I produced when I was 6 years old in San Pedro de Macorís. So I write of my teenage years and the struggles that made me strong, like arriving to the US after high school for my parents' dream, not my own. I left a life full of joy. I left people who I loved to chase this American dream, to realize that this was nothing but more than a speculation that keeps separating generations. I fought battles, many battles, worked multiple jobs while going to school. I learned about post-traumatic stress disorder, something I never knew. And the only thing that kept me going was the desire to be and become well-known, to help my family back home. And the many diaries where I wrote because pen and paper might not rhyme, but the memories certainly kept me alive. My soul is quiet when I don't write. I am not a poet. Life is poetry, so I write. Thank you. I'll go over another one here. And I'm gonna do an intersection in Spanish if you don't mind. Si pudiera cantar, le cantaría al cielo por ser el espacio que nos ilumina cada día y cada noche, por darle espacio a todas las lunas y las estrellas, por darnos aire y por las nubes que nos cobijan para que el calor del astro mayor no nos haga tanto daño. Cantaría por la lluvia que hace todo venidero, fértil, esperanzado en el renacimiento durante cada primavera. Cantaría la vida porque es una, al menos solo la que recordamos, la que nos hace firmes y fuertes, la que nos llena de amor, de paz, de dolores pasajeros, de amistades y gente buena, que nos duran toda una, que es esta vida. Cantaría la familia en que nací, con todos sus defectos y virtudes, con todas sus carencias y riquezas emocionales, con su falta de oportunidades y su ignorancia, porque los hace a cada miembro un ente indispensable en mi crecer, en mi ignorancia y en mi saber. Cantaría a mi Todopoderoso que me ha dado en estos años mucha sabiduría para seguir adelante, caminando con la frente en alto, para darme todo por entera al bienestar de mi entorno, para no permitir que me dañen y a la vez dejarlo todo en sus manos. Cantaría por un amor sincero, por amor verdadero. Cantaría por las virtudes para que esta sociedad se componga. Cantaría por el amor sano, por las buenas costumbres e intenciones. Cantaría por los hijos que guardaré en mi vientre y tendré, y por la bendición y fuerzas que mi Dios me dará para criarlos con amor, sabiduría y fe. Simplemente cantaría por la lucha diaria de dejar un legado y a la vez vivir. Gracias. Thank you. Let's see. Love of my life. So this poem I wrote a few weeks ago. The love of my life, today I stand with a soul full of joy, gratitude, peace, and love. Here lies all the insecurities that I once focused on from those people who didn't know your worth, like that man who you allowed to call you names and once said that you weren't good in bed, yet he never gave you a real climax there. Love of my life, every night I see your shining eyes, a reminder of what should be right, because the joy of love should not be lost in the place where I know I belong. Love of my life, I'm not giving up. You are the reason I stay strong, the reason for my days of long hours studying and work, the reason I decided not to let anyone do me wrong, the reason I created a life that I can enjoy, the reason I became who I should have been a long time ago. Love of my life, I'm gonna fight for you as long as breath stays in my lungs, because the only way I can and will move on is by keeping you next to me. But love of my life, I'm here also to apologize. I am sorry for the many unhealthy choices I made on my road, like the stress I caused you while sitting at the wrong tables, wasting time speaking with people that I didn't know. Love of my life, I'm sorry for the many times I didn't listen to the parts of you that changed, to the signs crying for help, to the heartburns, the fatigue, and the pain instead of feeling pleasure while getting excited with someone else. Now the cure should be my happiness, but I keep blaming myself for not preventing this silent enemy that keeps mutating inside ourselves. I know this will surely and slowly dim away the light of my life, which is yours. And I guess I'm crying for help, searching for a cure of a disease that is changing myself. But love of my life, please be patient with me. Don't walk away yet. We still have time to sit at the right table and speak to those who care, those who love and pray, even when we're not next to them. Love of my life, I am not promising. I am doing what I can. And for the sake of our love, I will keep standing strong for you, myself. Thank you. And I wrote Tony, can you just let me know what the time right now is? Because I'm not keeping the time.
You're doing fine. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Keep going.
I have two more. I am at peace. The beginning of the end. It was a cold and sorrowful night. She sat in shadows, dimmed of light. Confronting truths she could not ignore, her heart was breaking to the core. A question hung, sharp as a blade. What bothers you most? The words she said. His answer cut so cruel, so raw. Her flaws, he claimed, were all he saw. You're jealous, controlling, a source of strife. You never stand on the side of my life. But I stay, he said, for I accept your ways, though you demand I change my days. He mind rates back to the love she gave, the ways she bent, the times she caved. She'd shift her world to let him in, sacrificing her dreams to help him win. She thought of nights she'd silence her pain, forgiving his lies again and again. The cheating, the cruelty she let pass, hoping their love could somehow last. He only reached when he had a need, a taker at heart, consumed by greed, ungrateful for the care she gave. He treated her love as though she were a slave. Now she saw clear as the dawn. The love she gave was used and gone. And in that moment, her heart took flight. For the cold, sad story of that night, but she didn't let him step on her soul. She used the pain to make herself whole. A fire burned where hurt had grown. And like the phoenix, she rose on her own. She prayed to the Lord, let peace be mine. Open the doors to a life divine. Guide the right person to walk by my side. One who love me with truth, not hide. No more bending her standards to stall. She vowed to never again let herself fall. She sought a world of care and grace, where love was steady, a safe embrace. And she found peace within her heart. Happiness grew, a brand new start. In her own terms, she claimed her way, each step brighter with each new day. Ready for life, with a heart restored, she stepped into light, her spirit soared. No longer bound by the pain she known, she built a new world, her very own. Thank you. And the last poem I'll perform for you guys is for Women's History Month. I wrote it a week ago, so this will be my first time performing it. So let's see. This is a very familiar poem to me. It's very, very, very mine. I am my grandmother's, Margarita Lake and her African roots, the scent of salted cornmeal and okra combined, red snapper in red sauce kissed by coconut milk, steered with peppers and tomatoes, a special treat, yaniqueques with salami on the sizzling pan, a breakfast rich with love like only she could make. I am Maria Altagracia Hernandez and her Spanish traits, a voice that suits loving, caring, a determined woman who raised 3 men while working the ground. She tended her farm with unwavering will. Chickens and hens, her hands never still, planting fruits and vegetables to keep all fed. Her love was the harvest, her spirit widespread. I am her strength, steady and keen, cutting plantain, yuca, and picking the chicken clean, preparing the meal she'll cook for the day. Quiet provider who proved and paved her own way. I am my mother, Sandra Peña, who dared to dream, the only child to chase knowledge's gleam, an elementary teacher who never stands still, studying onward with unwavering will. I am my family's women. I learned so much from them, their strength, their fight, their widespread prayers that broke through nights. raising their kids, feeding their husbands. Yet I am more. I am the echoes of those who caved our paths. No road yet rose. Those who opened the doors, who fought so we can sit on these chairs, so we can write and speak these words, so we can earn degrees, money, and more, so we can be whole on our own. I am Maya Angelou's rhythmic words that dance her poem's flight. I am Rosa Parks bold in her seat, refusing to surrender her rightful mind and feet. I am Julia Alvarez, pen ablaze, unveiling Dominican truths in fearless ways. I am the Mirabal sisters, fierce and brave, whose courage stood strong. Lives they gave, but not in vain. Now we have a day to remember to stop domestic violence because of them. I am Celia Cruz, queen of the stage, her voice like fire, her presence like rage, empowering women to rise and shine in an industry that tried to draw the line where only men could have its state. I am every woman who's braved the storm, who fought for her rights, who reshaped the norm. I am courage that speaks, a voice that won't fade, the spirit that rises where strength is made. I am us combined, women aligned, empowered, determined, with purpose defined. I am all who paved the way, their strength, their love. I carry today. I am all of you, which makes all of me. Fierce, loving, delicate flower, and forever free. The women that you see.
Wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Everybody can
can I invite my community somewhere? Okay, so on Thursday, thank you so much, Paula. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Tony, thank you so much. I'm about to cry for allowing me to be here, and this is an amazing opportunity to me. I appreciate this. I am part of the Poem Stars. I'm sorry. This Thursday, we have the Women History Month open mic at 8 o'clock in Oceanside. And you can find me on Angie in the Arts on Instagram. I appreciate it so much.
Okay, is it at my library? Where is it?
No, the open mic, it's in Oceanside at the Angle. It's a hibachi restaurant where we host events every 2 months.
Okay, all right. Well,
yes.
Good.
And please follow me on Instagram, Angie in the Arts, and also the Poem Stars and ENT Entertainment.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
Absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you for great reading. All right. Before I call Lupita to the stage, I just want to remind everybody, if you do not want to be in the open mic, please put that in the comments. I am assuming that everybody here wants to be in the open mic, but if you're not for whatever reason, just please note that in the chat, if you will. All right. Well, without any further ado, joining us from Florida, Lupita. Okay, is it Eyde-Tucker? All right. Okay.
Eyde-Tucker, thank you so much.
Take it away. Thank you.
Wow, that was just exhilarating, Angie. Thank you so much for kicking it off so beautifully and powerfully. I followed you on Instagram. Thank you for that shout out.
Thank you.
I'm always looking for empowering people to follow and just encourage and be encouraged by. So, okay. So when I was thinking about what to read tonight, I was contemplating which poems to choose, and I decided that I was going to read from my translation that got published recently. So I'm a poet and I'm a bilingual poet. I also write in English and Spanish, but I'm also a literary translator. So for me, literary translation is a form of literary activism. And my mission with translating poets from the Spanish is to kind of just draw attention to or highlight in some way poets that are writing from underrepresented populations in South America. So that's kind of what led me to find this poet. Her name is Odette D'Angelo, and this is the collection that I'll be reading from. So Oriana is from Venezuela, another Caribbean nation. And this collection was originally published in Venezuela in 2014. And it was the winner of a national first book prize. And then pretty much soon after, Oriana had to leave. And a lot of these poems talk about exile in different ways and how you can be exiled from a place that you love and still be there. So I'm going to read 6 poems, and let's get started here. Make sure everything lined up and ready to go. Okay. So this first poem is called Caracas, in your absence, I know I'll find my name. And this poem has an epigraph, and it says, he who comes with lead shall leave. And that's a quote by a band named Famous Loop. Caracas is a woman with a chest full of bullets. I am a foreigner next to so much lead. The myth of the sleeping volcano observes us, mocks us for being incompetent. City of fathers and forebears. The Caracas between the teeth that we refuse to let go. Of blocked bloodstream. City whom I fear. Her, the one of neighborhoods in form of avalanche that pretends to be a commune, the one with the clogged arteries. Caracas, empty oxygen tank and emergency room of the everyday. Morgue, the one with guns, the one I don't want to be when I leave, and the one I don't want to become me. Caracas, the only woman who forces you to love her while she aims at your temple. So one of the reasons why I decided to read these poems tonight is because this has been a labor of love for a long time. I started translating this collection in 2018. And so it was published last year, actually almost exactly a year ago in March. And then a couple of weeks ago, I found out that it won the Florida Book Award, bronze medal in poetry. So that just was very encouraging to me, but it was very encouraging to Oriette, who is still living in exile. She is a Venezuelan living in the United States. And as you can imagine, that's a tough place to be. That's a tough situation to be in. This next poem is called I Underline a Title Like I Underline a Country. We have become a flat screen, numbed by the thunder of legs, blanket full of holes with news from another world, the corpse that does not belong to us, and the obsolete president accused of corruption. The program in another language, and the inevitable antenna in each window, each home. They tell us that the right to food is worth more here than the right to life. And we die, but we eat. In my chest, paradises, beaches are devoured. Los Roques, Bergal, La Tortuga. I underline a title like I underline a country. Weather changes and we invent the seasons. Our winter is a light rain and summer, the guri, bone dry. We're run over by a motorcycle and we go on. Mine is a homeland of swarms. Who will teach us to come out from behind the screen? Love me and get me out of here, said Manolo Garcia, but you never heard him. So these poems were written during the years when Hugo Chavez was in power. And even though they don't mention him by name, that was a time when Venezuela, which used to be really the most amazing, most like the leader country of South America, leading in every way, culture, commerce, trade, just Venezuela was the country, and his regime basically turned it into a desolate wasteland of violence and poverty. This next poem, is called Criminal Syndrome. Syndrome, of the Greek syndromi, subscription, symptom of a symptomatic charts. To exit or not to exit. Barricade yourself so they don't kill you. Die barricaded. Of the Greek plethoro, kletomeno, disease of gunshots and vicious cycles. Pathology of a country in ruins. Autistic citizenry, a mock syndrome disguised as flag. With an appetite for destruction. Plan designed for survival. To kill and die for a sack of flour. Kill and die for a smartphone. Kill and die because you butt your nose in my life. Kill and die because you annoy me. Kill and die because you don't have cancer and should, next to what I leave you if I don't take it from you. Syndrome of flag broken and in splinters. Syndrome of an oil nation full of gasoline in its ears. Syndrome of national embarrassment. Syndrome of a country that takes up the entire list of diseases with no vaccine. Syndrome of knee on ground and hands in the air. Syndrome of national bored and tired, of protest bored and tired, of thief thirsty and bored. Syndrome of everything we are without what we are because we have nothing. Of ruptured platelets in hospital because there are no supplies. And of deadly vaccine without prescription. Because we are still people and deserve to keep trying. Terminal syndrome of a nation consumed in a war that isn't us and which we deserve for being us, those of the Caribbean with the sun on our backs and the beach in our faces. We are the boat on which no one sails and with no known antidote to protect us. So, one of the things that Angie reminded me with her poetry is that writing poems is an act of survival. And I kind of, that really hit me very acutely as I was translating these poems, this collection. If you can imagine yourself being in a situation where you kind of have to write yourself out of it. That's kind of how I think of this work. So this next poem is called 15 Minutes to Become Posthumous. For Yanni. City of cardiovascular accidents. Streets like broken veins full of cholesterol. City of two-wheeled missiles. City of Yanni Conte assassinated. Incomplete dream with insomnia. The knives say a man is a common crime, that an unpunished assassination is a negligent case file. Have you ever seen a blood stain on concrete? It looks like an oil stain, but thicker, humbler than petroleum, more sincere. Everything about Yanni became posthumous, and in the afterdeath, he doesn't stop singing. The knives say what the city hushes, and still they speak more than they should. I go out into the street and see an assassin in every man. 1 stab, 2 stabs, 6 stabs. There is no exact number in the variables of the duel. The wounded body displays the cowardice of the attack, the inexact gash of the novice assassin, the locale of coincidence. Caracas, lost. 3:55, 4:10 in the morning. 15 minutes to become posthumous. The rest of the story erased by the getaway. Cowardice is spelled with the C of Caracas. The assassin's hand is a forged fingerprint, modified DNA. 15 minutes, and Yanni Conte doesn't tell. All that's left is a city to swallow like dust and remember. So I know these are not happy poems. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't want to. There are some really. So one of the things about the poems in this collection is that Oriet writes about exile and writes about disease, and using that as a metaphor, different types of diseases as a metaphor of like disease country, disease city, disease population, but in a not in a literal way necessarily. So she uses a lot of imagery that talks about like heart attacks and blocked bloodstreams and cholesterol and diabetes and angina and all kinds of things like that. I decided not to read any of the poems that talked about disease specifically, except for this one. And this is poem number 5. So there's one more poem after this one. I remember when dying was a circumstance. I remember when dying was a circumstance, when veins creaked, ripped out by a perfect word, when the floor was stained by so many broken needles, so much varnish spilled, so many deformed fingernails. When we sketched poverty in black notebooks and painted with blood what we could never forgive. When we avoided the truth because it wasn't favorable and pretended to cry on the floor with bruised knuckles. I remember we chose to be water while the wound dried, stained ourselves with adolescence as if waiting for amnesty like a prize. When to be 13 was to be younger and to suffer more, so much that we stained our hearts when we chose to scar the womb. Years passed and the stains lasted like dog prints sniffing at life. We aren't 15 anymore, nor 18, and drinking alcohol is no longer exciting, burns my neck, burns the cord, causes ulcers. You no longer speak to me, nor I to you, and I don't know what I'm hiding from when I'm quiet, tearing at myself. So the last poem I'm going to read is, it's called Knee on Dirt, and I just want to give you a little bit of background on what that means. So when Hugo Chavez was in power, one of the things that he made people do in order to show their loyalty to him and to his party, his movement, was he would say, rodilla en tierra, like put your knee on the dirt. And that was a way of humbling yourself before him to show him and others around you that you were subjugating yourself to his leadership. And it was a kind of a rallying cry. And it was also like they would put this on placards and posters everywhere. And it was something that he basically, it was a kind of a virtue signal as well. It was the way that you kind of showed that you were not going to resist. Knee on dirt. They say that the first step to a fall is resistance. Mine was the drop, knee buckling hard, femur on dirt, tibia on dirt, self-esteem on dirt, patriotism on dirt, the ego of a country sustained by fertilizer, the visceral manure that makes us citizens. Knee tired of climbing onto so many platforms. Knee tired of endless marching. Knee tired of endless political posturing, overdue payday. Knee tired of endless ministries. Femur wounded from so many cues, so little milk, so little bread. Of being the pastry chef of a country locked in the pantry. Tibia fractured in a cast, ligature of a city held together by bridges of sulfur, barefoot standing on plantations, exercising the muscle of disobedience. Bare footprint against the pavement, always begging for the crumbs of history. Knee scorched from too much touching this ground that burns me, and on the inside is full of nothing but crude.
Wow.
Thank you.
Oh, my goodness. Absolutely wonderful, 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 powerful stuff. Thank you so much, Lupita. So we can open up ourselves and give Lupita and Angie a really good round of applause.
You both were exceptional. Thank you.
Wow, what a great night. Great, great night. Thank you both so much. Lupita, thank you. Very, very powerful stuff and timely.
Thank you so much for having me, y'all. I am going to drop a link to just a quick plug. I know we're going to go to the open mic, but so Oriette is I also just wanted to say about this collection is that it's my English translation, but the cool thing about this book is that if you flip it over, her full Spanish is on the other side. So
Very cool.
you know, Oriette is really having a hard time staying in this country legally, and she's kind of in that fight right now. So anything that you could do, if you order her book, the publisher is donating some proceeds to her directly. So I put the link to that in the chat.
Thank you very much. That's very, very good. Thank you so much. All right, so now we're going to get started with our open mic. So again, if you do not want to be in the open mic, just throw it in the chat. But we're gonna start off with Chip Wolford, you're up, and Chris, you're on deck.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Angie and Lupita. That was awesome. Happy International Women's Month to all the women. I have two haikus that I would like to read. An elephant plant, a pure, oh my gosh, Pearl. Pearl. I'm sorry, I have a speech impediment, and this word is very hard for me to say, but a pearl drop size of water, the middle reveals. An elephant plant, a pearl drop size of water, the middle reveals. And dominoes falling, avalanche of hateful words blocking all access. Dominoes falling, avalanche of hateful words blocking all access. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much, Chip. Chip, where are you calling in from?
I'm sorry, I'm calling in from Mastic Beach, New York.
Excellent. Okay, Chris, you're up, and Adriana, you're on deck.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Chris, and I'm from Baldwin. Here we go. 156, F40, in a garage, stagnant, stationed, silent. Their bodies were as white as Baradas, the snake and this horse, side by side, divided by broken lines, slithering and galloping. Scales were shedded and horseshoes were pulled at pit stops. One is slow, one is fast. V6, V8, sporty eye catches on spaghetti roads. In the floating city, those two have spun everything around time and time again. They see red when they see each other, or maybe not if they're colorblind. Home.
Wow, thank you very much. All right, Chris, thank you so much. Adriana, you're up, and Marvin, you're on deck. Adriana? Adriana going once. Adriana going twice. We'll come back to Adriana if we can. Marvin, you ready to go?
I'm ready.
Okay, Mark, you're on deck.
Arthur Dimmesdale is a reverend in Hawthorne's The Scarlet Letter. He has an affair with Hester Prynne. Hester thinks her husband is dead in Europe, and they have the affair. The result is a child by the name of Pearl. Arthur Dimmesdale's initials, AD, stand for adultery, I believe, or AD, admit. And that's what this poem is about, adultery and admit. You steal upon the scaffold while the town is all asleep, clouds covering even the moon, as your hand has been hiding your heart these 7 years since she stood here with the child before the glare of their contempt under the noontime sun. She needed no assistance, as you need now, no midnight cane, while citizens snore their contented righteousness. But before their pointed fingers, she repelled the officer's arm, leading her to a shame, the wooden platform in the marketplace. There was no need to hide her heart. Her guilt was visible to all once she left the prison door. It was etched into her arms with the babe she carried, while you from your balcony looking down on this pitiful sight urged she should name her fellow culprit and at least achieve some semblance of truth. Oh, hypocritical minister, by what truth do you abide, cringing on your midnight visit to this pulpit of ignominy? When will you announce your sermon of responsibility in the clear light of a New England noon and partner with a woman whose eyes you cannot dare to meet? For she shielded you from scorn, keeping your congregants always in the dark, savior of souls to them, venerable of venerables. When?
Thank you. Thank you, Marvin. All right. Mark, you're up, and Robert, you're on deck.
Thank you, Tony. And coming from Charlotte, North Carolina, The Twisted Truth. Nana stands at the stove, wooden spoon in hand, nothing stirring, just motionless and staring off into space. Quite unusual for her. I wondered as if something was wrong from my seat at table and breakfast nook, so I asked. Just thinking, she says. What are you thinking about? The spoon resumes stirring. Nana turns and asks me to bring the pepper jar from the table to her. 3 or 4 shakes of pepper disappear into the pot, and then she tells me she was missing her friend who moved out of the neighborhood. The wooden spoon freezes again, and she looks in the general direction of the yellow flowery half curtains at the kitchen window. I assume I had not met this friend because I did not recognize the name, so Grandma describes her to me, but still I shrug my shoulders and feel the mid-afternoon sun warm the back of my neck. Still not ringing a bell in my mind, so Grandma mentions her friend had one crooked tooth on top right in the front. So whenever she smiled, everyone could see that one tooth, turned 90 degrees with a small gap on either side, basically sideways. And she never seemed to care if anyone stared or didn't like it. Just the friendliest, most outgoing person Grandma knew, the light up her room when she enters it type person. Well, for some reason that I cannot remember or it wasn't stated, Nana's friend had to get dentures. And everybody else thought this was great because the woman could finally be rid of the twisted tooth and the gaps. Grandma's friend had the surgery, gets the dentures, and the upper denture has the gaps. And the tooth twisted 90 degrees just like the original. When asked why she did that, Grandma's friend replied, "Dear, I've been looking at this smile in the mirror my whole life. Why should I change it?" Nana smiles at the telling of this story in a manner I recognize as love and respect. She loved herself, crooked tooth and all, Nana said, smiling to high heaven before resuming her duties in silence over the 4 stove burners. This is one of numerous stories my grandmother told to instill in me a respect for people the way they are. And I suppose a lesson to love myself the way I am too.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Mark. All right. So Robert, you're up, and Maggie, you're on deck.
Thank you, Tony. Coming to you from Palo Alto, California. And thanks to Lupita and Angie, too, for those wonderful features. Home. Baseball's plate shaped like a house, never called house, always called home. Baseball's players spitting anywhere, everywhere, on the field, in the dugouts, but not on home. Not there, never on their home. Baseball's umpires, stoic arbiters trained to take abuse, verbal and voluminous, always willing without complaint to bow, to bend, to brush away dirt from home, wanting, needing to keep home clean, clean, easily seen, welcoming, though surrounded by grit and dirt and spit and spite and shoes that are spiked. Home, the whole point, the desired destination, the batter's motivation to bring teammates home, to come home oneself, to hit a home run, to travel leisurely, a literal globe trotter around the world of bases, laid out like a big diamond in the rough draft of imagination, or in the down and dirty reality of landscaped, raked, pebble-free earth, and to end the journey by returning home to where it all begins, to a community greetings of hugs and handshakes, hoopla, and howls of happiness. Thanks for listening.
Wonderful. Thank you, Robert. All right. Maggie, you're up, and Paula, you're on deck. Maggie? Oh, Maggie. We've lost Maggie. Paula, you ready?
Yeah, nope. I've got the, I thought I had it on mute and I mean on speaker, and I had it on mute because my,
That's okay. We're good.
my clocks keep chiming. Okay.
Thank you,
Coming
Maggie.
to you, coming
Wait
to you.
just 1 second, Maggie. Maggie, you're up, and Paula, you're on deck. Okay, go ahead, Maggie.
Okay, from Iowa. So you want to play the harmonica. First, you need to buy one. Attend local auction. Stand shoulder to shoulder for hours. Drink coffee. Resist urge to bid on butter churns and coffee grinders, shoehorns and chicken feeders, fishing poles, manure shovels, and more. Drink more coffee. Go to restroom. Back in time to hear last call, sold, harmonica to number 179. Your number -1. Could have been any number. Next time, hold the coffee.
Thank you, Maggie. Okay, Paula, you're up, and Ron, you're on deck.
Lupita and Angie, thank you so much. It was wonderful. This poem is about my Nonna, so Mark and I both have Nana poems tonight. About this poem, there's an epitaph. The responsibility of the writer is to excavate the experience of the people who produce them. James Baldwin, from dialogue that he had with Nikki Giovanni. I call this poem The Traveler. It's the voice of my Nana. Ellis Island, 1906. It was heavenly at sea. I felt the freedom from Mezzogiorno. But she was a quiet child who, often sickly and prone to melancholy, would rather have stayed behind. My mother was a mother. She, like most immigrant parents, feared the sanitarium. She told us the stories of La Isla de la Lagrame and how families were corded off and children were chalked, identified by health and abilities. When the morning thundered in, we gathered our bags and bundles, the first to disembark. Huddled, we lined up, moved in syncopation. Hidden between our hips, the child, concealed in plain sight. She slid by without a word.
Wonderful. Thank you, Paula.
Thank
Great
you,
job.
guys.
Great job as always. Okay, Ron, you're up, and Larry, you're on deck. Where'd Ron go? I lost Ron. I'm having a tough night here tonight. All right, Larry, you're up. Dee Dee, you're on deck.
I think I've unmuted myself.
You have. You're good.
Some of you may have seen this on Facebook. When you black out for a few seconds and are taken by ambulance to the emergency room, and the first thing you see is a cleaning lady opening a big plastic bag, you think, boy, that was quick. I just got here and already they have a body bag ready for me. I was out of it for a brief time earlier this month and spent 3 nights in the hospital while test after test was done. Before the testing started, I was instructed to lower my pants so nurses could not only look at my backside, but also take pictures of it. And for this, I went to nursing school. I'm guessing this was for insurance reasons to document if I came into the hospital already possessing sores or bruises. An older man in a white smock stopped by both Saturday and Sunday morning for 1-minute conversations about my situation. There were apparently 2 doctors on weekend duty in the neurological section of the hospital. When a nurse asked me which doctor had stopped by, I said I didn't know his name, but he was, disheveled. The nurse grinned and then explained that this doctor was so-and-so who once had been stopped by security at the hospital because they thought he was homeless. Patients are moved in wheelchairs to various locations by employees known as transporters. I reminded one of my transporters that on a previous visit, the young guy transporting me said I was his last patient of the day, and he was looking forward to getting home so he could feed his snake. This was a once-a-week activity, and surprise, surprise, the transporter explained he was fonder of the snake than his girlfriend was. Sad to say, none of my transporters during this latest visit had any story close to matching the snake story. Another sign, perhaps, of the decline of our civilization. The doctors think I may have had a TIA. They've changed some of the medicine I'm on and suggested follow-up exams. I've said it before, but here goes again. If there is a God, she's a nurse. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. And then you and I are going to have a discussion about that because I didn't know about this before Saturday. So, but I'm glad you're doing well.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Dee Dee, you're up. JR, you're going to bring it home.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Angie, Lupita, everybody here. Always a great thing. The distance between a rock, a hard place, an impossible task, a less possible dream. History books taste salty. So many tears as I, now adulted, reread the words. No grandiose songs of pride and trust. No, my country, right or wrong, permeates the clean, no longer clean air. Planet Earth considering a move to Canada. So long ago, an innocent child learned the patriotic songs, the glorious battles, the glowing words of documents that today hide themselves for fear of careful reading. Comparisons are always questionable, but asking questions is imperative. Do not hide between a rock and the impossible. Step out of the shadows and seek the truth. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Doreen. Wonderful. All right, and then our good friend JR is going to bring it on home.
Terrific. Thank you. Thank you, Angie. Thank you, Lupita, as always. Thank you, Tony. Wow, super night. I only read this poem on St. Patrick's Day. So let the shenanigans begin. Legend of Fiddler McGee. Deep in the forest, aside a big oak tree, lived a little old elf named Fiddler McGee. Fiddle he did all day and all night. Fiddle he did with all his might. Something's not right with him, town folks said. There was even talk that he was touched in the head. They all looked out for him and kept a watchful eye and fed him and clothed him, such a lonely guy. The townfolk wondered what was in his mind. Though they cared for him, one of their own kind, many a times they asked why he fiddled, but his answers were vague and always riddled. Fiddler McGee, what's come over you? What makes you fiddle as much as you do? Fiddler sighed and took a short rest, and that fine day, Fiddler McGee confessed. I play for the wee folk that live in my tree. They say I'm the only elf they can see. They like my fiddling and praise how I play. It's for them that I fiddle every hour of the day. My wee ones, they like me, this I know. Their leader Patrick, he told me so. He said I must play all day through. Fiddle my best is what I must do. The townfolk were shocked. How could it be that we once lived in an old oak tree? Fiddler is as daft as the day is long to think we folks want a fiddling song. Fiddler went on with his tale. I must play better, I cannot fail. For if I do, and I must, you see, their pots of gold they'll give to me. Don't tell 'em I told, Fiddler said with fear. They'll disappear if you even come near. I vow here and now that I won't play till with their gold they will pay. Who could believe a tall tale of wee folk and of promised gold as this fiddler spoke? So the legend says that's how it came to be that the fiddler became known as Fibber McGee.
Hey, thank you, thank you. All right, well, what a wonderful evening. I want to thank you, Angie. I want to thank you so much, Lupita, and everybody else. It's been a wonderful evening. And we look forward to you joining us the next time that we meet. And I think, Robert, I think you're up next, if I'm not mistaken. And so I want to thank everybody. Everybody be safe and have a wonderful rest of your evening. Good night.
Thanks, Tony.
Night, everybody.